the most difficult teaching of Jesus, of course, we're talking about.
I think it is more difficult because we are not conditioned to the Judaism, I think, as a Christians. So this is a very informative and a very good one, because, and now I understand why Paul said, take this body when we have communion, do not take it lightly, because you may die as your elders in the past, because they take it lightly. I don't understand the essence of that communion, and you may die. And you will die. That's what Paul said.
That's right.
And I think that is a very good. Now I understand, because Paul is a Jew. I mean, he must have learned it from Gamaliel about the Kabbalah or somehow.
That's right. We have a very famous Jewish teacher called Jacob Emden, who told us a lot about St. Paul and how great a rabbi and teacher he was in Judaism. Jacob Emden wrote that. We also have a lot of writing about Simon Peter in Judaism. His correct title is Rav, that means rabbi, Rav Shimon Kefa HaTzadik. So he's Rabbi Simon Peter the Tzaddik, the saint, in Judaism. And we have a lot of good things said about him too. He wrote a lot of Jewish prayers, which we still say in the synagogue today, for example. And these teachings of these great rabbis like Paul and Simon Peter are just teaching Judaism. Why does Paul say, don't get circumcised? Because he's trying to tell the Gentiles, you don't have to become teachers of Judaism to be saved. Timothy, he's circumcised, and Timothy became a teacher of Judaism. But you don't need to be circumcised and become a teacher of Judaism to be saved. You just need to keep the laws of Noah as a Hebrew and get grafted into the nation. And that it's not necessary to be circumcised to be a Hebrew, Abraham was a Hebrew before he was circumcised. He was a Hebrew already, and then he was circumcised. But so to be a Hebrew is to be like Abraham before he was circumcised. So Paul is just trying to promote Judaism. He's just trying to promote Judaism. I can hear that Edis had his microphone on or something. You want to say something, you can jump in. It's okay.
All right. Joe, it sounds like Gnostic, but I'm confused.
It sounds like do you remember about Docetism, Edis? Isn't it Docetism that Basilidites that
But I confused when the disciples of the Lord, they didn't recognize, they didn't realize Jesus after resurrection.
Right. Okay. 2 questions. One, is it Gnosticism? There are 3 questions. Is it Gnosticism? Is it Docetism? And why didn't the disciples recognize Jesus? Any more questions? I'm going to have to type these down so I can remember them. Let's try and deal with those 3. All right, Docetism. Docetism is the idea that when the Messiah appeared as Jesus, he didn't appear with a true body. He appeared only like a ghost, like an apparition, like a vision. But in reality, he was actually not actually physically present. That's obviously not true, and that has never been the case whenever any of the theophanies of the Lord, which if you're a Messianic, you believe is Jesus. So let's say when any of the theophanies of Jesus appeared throughout the whole of the Old Testament, whenever any of the theophanies of Jesus appeared, he always appeared in the flesh. Look, he sat at a table with Abraham and he ate a meal with Abraham. How could he eat a meal if it was just a docetic appearance of the Lord? You understand?
Yes. Yeah, I understand. Okay. Because you refer to the appearance in like in Quran, Nisa 171, because those are what the Basilidites says, because Basilidites is one form of Docetism, that what they crucify is not is only appear to be crucified, but it's not. So in the sense that, do you really mean that verse saying that Jesus is not crucified?
No, it means that his appearance was crucified, but the docetic people who say it was just like it wasn't really a physical body which was crucified. It was just a ghost which was crucified. They're wrong because they haven't understood the nature of a theophany from a Judaic point of view in the first place. Every time the messianic being appears, he appears in a true and physical way, a truly physical way. He's not a ghost. That's why he sat down and he ate a meal with Abraham, and he gave the leftovers of his meal to Sarah to eat, according to our Mishnah. He gave the leftovers of his meal to Sarah so that she could eat it and should be healed. So it is a real physical presence we're talking about. It's not just an apparition or just a vision or just an illusion. The appearance of the Lord is as solid as you and me. It's flesh and blood like you and me. But he's telling us that even though it looks to you and me like this is him, this is his flesh, it's his blood, it's his physical presence, he still says to us, nevertheless, it's not really my body. My body is something else. And by teaching us that his body is something else, he also teaches us that our true bodies are also something else, not these things.
Okay, because you said earlier that as if Anissa 157 is actually a teaching of Kabbalah, so I kind of misunderstood you there then.
It is a teaching of Kabbalah. It's a teaching of Oriental Orthodoxy, and it's a teaching of Kabbalah. That the Rasul aspect, the true body, was not crucified. Only what we think is the body was crucified. And it's what... Yeah. It's flesh.
Because
it's blood. It bleeds.
Because the Muslim... Because some tafsir of people who are in An-Nisa 157 is the body is not the body, is not even crucified. They don't even crucify the appearance. That's what I understood. What they say.
Yeah. The Mutafsirun on that verse, they're in conflict amongst themselves. They can't even describe. They can't even decide amongst themselves what really happened. Some of the Mutafsirun say it was just like a ghost of Jesus which was on the cross. Some of the Mutafsirun say, no, it was Judas who was on the cross. Others of the Mutafsirun, they have different opinions. They can't even decide amongst themselves. Others say that it was actually, yes, it was Jesus who was on the cross, but he didn't actually die. He just sort of went unconscious for a while and then came back again.
Yes.
So they can't even decide between themselves. They're all in conflict with themselves. If one of those...
they are just misinterpret what Kabbalah is then.
They don't understand the Kabbalah.
Okay.
And they don't understand the Oriental Orthodox tripartite Christology in this. That the Rasul aspect, the true body wasn't crucified. Yes, hello. Titan, what do you have to say? Yes.
Okay, I wanna ask you about something. Okay, sure. According to you, that the Messiah when he died and being buried, and then after he was having resurrections, and then he goes up to heaven. No, before that, because before the process, Jesus is visiting. He was visiting his disciples, right?
Right.
So, my question is, you are saying that at that time, after he was resurrected, you're saying that he is using his real body that we can see, we can touch, we can, we can see and we can touch it, as Thomas did at the time.
Yes.
Okay. So is that his real body? Because I don't know, my interpretations about this one. It's not only visions. Visions is only what we. It's only slight a vast. It's just like you see ghosts and then it disappears. Okay, but it's not like that. But it's real that you see, and then in the story said that he was eating with his disciples. So I'm is very confused with this, because what I know is it is a ghost, only a soul, only his spirit They're going there, but how can he eat then? This is my questions. Thank you, Joe. Can you explain it?
All right. I'll do my best. We have to go back again to the night of the supper with his disciples before he was arrested. Let me just go actually back a little bit further than that. Do you remember when Jesus went onto Mount Tabor? It's just outside of Nazareth with his disciples Peter and James and John, and he appeared to them as three beings, and they thought that this was Moses.
Oh
Moses
yeah,
and Elijah.
with Moses and Elijah. Okay,
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. Well, of course, they didn't introduce themselves to him as saying, "Hi, my name's Moses. Hi, my name is Elijah." How do they know that this is Moses and this is Elijah? It's just their assumption.
Yeah.
It's just their assumption. They assume that this is Moses and they assume that this is Elijah. Why? Because if you haven't studied the Kabbalah, you wouldn't understand the nature of the Messiah. And you're not allowed to study the Kabbalah until you've been a very Orthodox Jew for 40 years. And many of his disciples were not at that point. So it looks like Moses and Elijah and Jesus. But what we're actually looking at again is this thing here. The word aspect of let me just get the picture up here in front of me so I can move my mouse over it. The word aspect of Jesus, the spirit aspect of Jesus, the Russell aspect of Jesus. The spirit aspect of Jesus is the one that everybody would have thought is Jesus. The archangel aspect of Jesus is the one that everybody would have thought was Elijah. And the word aspect of Jesus is the one that everybody would have thought was... Oh, sorry, I got that the wrong way round. It was the word aspect of Jesus is the one that everybody thought was Jesus. He looks like Jesus. He speaks like Jesus. This is the appearance of Jesus. This is the word. The archangel this is Elijah, and this is Moses. Okay? So that's the appearances are the different ones. The voice of Jesus, which speaks to us and tells us all things, is the one like Moses. The appearance of Jesus, which gets crucified and bleeds to death, this is the one that the disciples see in the middle and think that's Jesus. And the other aspect, the Yesod, is Elijah. How do they appear? The spirit aspect always appears holding the two tablets of stone, the laws, the 10 commandments. That's why it looks like Moses. The angel aspect always appears in the throne, the chariot, which takes us to heaven. That's why it looks like Elijah, because he's Elijah and his chariot, Moses and the 10 commandments. And this one just looks like Jesus. But there's a deeper level to it as well. There's more to it than this. This is more Kabbalah for you. This is actually the guardian of Moses, which is why he carries the 10 commandments. This is the guardian of Elijah. He is the throne. He is the chariot, which is why he's got the chariot. And this one was the guardian of Samuel. Okay, just so you know. So each of them have already fulfilled a role in Judaism. One as the guardian of Samuel, one as the guardian of Elijah, and one as the guardian of Moses. Okay? Now, remember when they ask John the Baptist, "Are you the Elijah who was to come?" He says, "No." "Are you Elijah?" they say. "Are you Elijah?" He says, "No." Jesus says he is the Elijah who was to come, but doesn't say that he was Elijah. He says he was the Elijah who was to come, but not that he was Elijah. John said that he was not Elijah, and he was not Elijah. The spirit, the Elijah spirit, is actually in Jesus himself, along with the Moses spirit and with the Samuel spirit. So Jesus is the prophet, the priest, and the king. Jesus is the prophet, the priest, and king. Jesus is all three of these. Jesus is the one like Moses. Jesus is the prophet Elijah who was to come. And he is the prophet of Elijah, the spirit of Elijah. And he's also the spirit of Samuel too. So who is John the Baptist then? John the Baptist is the one in Malachi. It says, "Behold, I am sending my angel ahead of you to make straight the ways." Which angel is that? That's the angel of Israel. What is the angel of Israel? This is the angel Michael. So John the Baptist is the angel Michael. This is all very deep stuff, but he's the angel Michael. The angel Michael is the right-hand man of the Messiah. The angel Michael is not the Messiah, and the angel Michael is not one of these three, but he's the right-hand man of the Messiah. So John the Baptist is the angel Michael. And the angel Michael is the Elijah that everybody is talking about, but actually not the Elijah spirit. Not Elijah spirit, because Jesus is already including that Elijah spirit. So Jesus has got these three things first. That's step one. Step two, when it comes to the Last Supper with his disciples, he gives one of his three aspects. He gives to his disciples. At this point, because it is not transfigured, nobody can see it. Nobody can see what is actually being given to his disciples at the Last Supper. Nobody sees it. Jesus knows what's going on. And every Hasidic Jew who has studied Kabbalah to a very deep level and who would read this would also know what's going on. Sadly, almost no Jews ever read the Gospels. But if there was such a Jew like me who read the Gospel, they would understand what was going on, and they would see, aha, I understand what he's giving to his disciples is the spirit of Elijah. Which is why in Havdalah, we always sing a song called Eliyahu HaNavi. We always sing it. Eliyahu HaNavi. We always sing it because that is the spirit of Elijah which has been given to us at the Last Supper. Even though you might say, oh, second Jews, how come you're doing something which Jesus told his disciples to do in memory of him and you don't even believe in Jesus? It says, do you remember the parable of the two sons where a father asks his sons to do a job for him? And one of them says, yes, certainly, father, but he doesn't do it. And the other one says, no, I'm not going to do that. But later he feels sorry and he does it anyway. This is like the parable of Christians and Jews. Christians are the ones who said, yes, we'll do that, and they don't do it. While Jews are the ones who said no, but then we feel sorry, and okay, we're going to do it anyway. So we're doing it anyway. So that's answering that. Okay, we do